Hey, Jason Flatlin here, and welcome to this ASM3 Plan for Success training video. Let's get started.
I can predict your future for you. Here's what's going to happen with this course or any other course or anything that you do where you invest in yourself to try to better your future. The excitement eventually wears off. For some people, it might have wore off already, and that's fine. Excitement does not, in its own right, equate to success. Sometimes your excitement lasts from the whole pitch where I got you to sign up for ASM until even past the 30 and 60-day mark, right? But it eventually will wear off. And so you can't rely only on excitement for success. And here's the other thing, the only thing that's certain is uncertainty itself. And the challenge is this: no matter what tools I give you, no matter what approach I share with you, no matter how much I stack the deck in your favor, there's going to be things that you're going to have to be uncertain of when you make decisions and move forward on them. It could even be such as, what's your brand name, or what are you going to call this product, or which of these designs are you going to pick from when you put your product on Amazon. Okay, you're going to have a strategy to deal with that, and I'll do my best to help you in uncertain times move forward in a way that is certain to be successful for you. And the real reality is this: time will tell your results. More important than doing something today is doing something consistently day in and day out. And so we just have to make sure that whatever plan we set you up with, you work it and you put the time in. It's not a lot of time, but it's time that needs to be put in regardless. And that's more important than excitement. And that's more important than any uncertainty that you will face, is just to continually put the time in and move forward. And there's nothing better to put time in that I can consider. And this is what you should focus on. So let's put the time in with the right type of plan. Now, why this approach? Because I'm going to give you a specific approach to choose between three different plans for you to attack and profit from using ASM in our strategies, right? Well, first of all, any plan is better than no plan. The old saying is fail to plan and plan to fail, and that's true. Any plan is better than no plan. Specifically, I'm going to give you three options, and they're the best three options for a plan that you can have, okay? This particular planning approach that I've designed for you has no wrong option. So already there might be some uncertainty. Gee, Jason, which plan should I pick? Should I pick the fast one, the safe one, the steady one? I'll lay it out for you and let you choose. But know that even if you pick the worst one for your particular situation, it's still better than any other plan that you can choose. And it's infinitely better than choosing no plan, right? The only wrong option is not to pick one of these plans. So what are your three options? They're the fast, the steady, and the safe way of going about building a profitable, sustainable ASM business. Here's what the fast way looks like. Here's the definition for the fast plan. You will take the most accelerated approach possible to produce a profit as quickly as you can. Now, here's the obvious benefits of doing it fast. The most obvious one is the quicker the result, the more likely you are to take additional action. This is great. If you can see an immediate return on what you're doing, that's motivation and excitement in its own right that keeps fueling the fire to further act. This is something I found true in my business, and I'm sure you're going to find it true as well, is it's easier to make decisions right than it is to make the right decisions, because we can analyze all day long. Will this title convert better than that title? Will this bullet point approach produce better results than that bullet point approach? What type of ad or game plan should we have for jump starting our Amazon listing, right? You and I would never be able to figure that answer out just in a laboratory. We'd have to go out there and do something and then compare the data and then say, okay, this is what we did. We're almost there. Let's fix it. And then we will be there. And doing fast means you have the most data. When you're going fast, you make the most decision as quickly as you possibly can, and then you look from those decisions and you say, this one was this close, so let's fix it. This one wasn't close at all, so let's just kill it. And these ones over here, potentially we can do something with, and let's just pick one and go crazy with it. Fast is the name of the game. Here's the coolest thing: that if you're successful with the fast plan, you will get the quickest external confirmation and validation. And that's a big part of why people stick with something or don't stick with something. And I know that sounds silly, but here is why this is super duper important: is there are family members who you may have told that you bought ASM, and they're secretly in their mind thinking you're going to completely fail, because maybe you failed at everything else you've ever done in life when it comes to building a business online, right? That's a nice sentiment, isn't it? And so when you can prove them wrong, it not only validates for you that you made the correct decision, which then reinforces your actions, which produces better results and better results and better results, but in addition to that, other people will rally around behind you, and now you have a little cheering section. So the general sentiment, instead of secretly cheering against you, now they're openly cheering for you. And the fastest plan for success with ASM has the most likely for this to happen for you very quickly, right? Of course, nothing is perfect. There is no such thing as the perfect way. There has some drawbacks to the fast plan. When you go fast, you also go hard. And so if I have to go fast, that means I'm cramming like a mofo, getting everything in there that I can possibly get in there. That means I'm probably studying 20, 25, 30 hours a week. I'm staying up later and getting up earlier, and I'm making massive sacrifices in the short term because the name of the game is speed, quickest result possible. Now, this is a big deal for a lot of people. I have found a way to thrive on it. I love making mistakes. That's kind of masochistic of me, and most people cannot thrive under circumstances they actually shut down. If you have a big issue with dealing with handling many mistakes simultaneously, then the fast approach may not be the best approach for you, okay? Because you're going to make a ton of mistakes. When you go fast, you have no time to stop and check and make sure everything's aligned in a row. When I first started selling online, I had spelling mistakes pretty much on every single page. That might make a lot of people cringe. For me personally, it was like, I don't care. I'm going fast. Who has time to stop and proofread? So it's not perfect, right? And the reality is the faster you go, the more limited your choices are going to be. And so you're going to say, hey, I need to get the fastest way possible to make profits. So there's certain things and certain approaches and certain opportunities that you just have to eliminate in sake of putting speed above those things. And this is a biggie for some people, as it requires not only mental energy, because you're going to have to consume and put a whole bunch of things in your mind all at once, but it does require a lot of physical energy as well, which I think a lot of people underestimate. The mental energy creates the physical energy. And if you're thinking a lot, that zaps you just as physically as if you go and do a crazy workout, right? And so you have to prepare for the energy, and some people just don't have the energy right now, and that's okay. It's not required for success. It's just something you have to consider if you want to go the fast pace. So here's some scenarios. If you say, Jason, I'm sold, I'm signed up, I want to do it fast, then I'll just give you some examples, some specific microscopic or the micro instead of the macro now on what this would look like on a day-to-day basis. If you're going with suppliers, you're going to have less time to negotiate. Now that might be an acceptable trade-off, and for me personally, it's a completely acceptable trade-off. Instead of maybe getting a 55 or a 60% profit margin, which is very easy to obtain in other circumstances, we might settle for a 30% profit margin because we just want to get the supplier, we want to get them signed up, we want to ink the deal and send it to Amazon. Speed is the name of the game. All else bows to speed, right? And so when Wilson and I started, I was so adamant on doing it the fast way. We didn't go outside of the United States for our product. We didn't go to China, so this limits our opportunities. Now, when there's 256,000 plus opportunities that I have personally counted, with my approach, I wasn't too worried about eliminating half or more of those because I knew there'd still be plenty for us. But a lot of people don't want to be boxed in and only go with the U.S. And it's good or it's bad. For me, it's great because I'm like, I don't have to mess with anything. I don't have to learn anything else. I just go U.S. I don't have time to learn China, much less time to wait for the shipments to come in from China. So we skipped that, right? And for some people, this scares them a little bit, and I understand why. And for other people, they thrive on this. Pick up the phone as soon as possible. So, like if you're calling suppliers, you might not know God whatever to say to them right now. You might have no clue. Now, me personally, I don't care. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to screw up the first 5 or 10 calls to suppliers that I'm going to make, and they're probably going to think I'm an idiot and a fool, but that's okay. I am an idiot and a fool, so it doesn't bother me, right? And I will eventually make up one way or another and figure it out as I go along on what to say to suppliers to get them to open up back to me in a way that we can move forward quickly and get something out there to Amazon, right? Now, does that scare you to death? If it does, then maybe you don't want to go fast, or maybe you want to say maybe I'll have to just suck it up and deal with it for now. And that's cool. Either way is fine as long as you eventually get to the point to call suppliers. But if you want to do some more prep work up front and go into our Facebook group, for example, and compare what Wilson has documented and maybe practice it a few times with your friends or family, calling them if this is a big issue with that, and just kind of simulating a supplier environment, right? That's fine. That is actually really cool. It'll probably mean the first few suppliers you call, they'll close just like that, no problem, right? But it's going to take more time. And so it's something to consider when you're going with the fast route. Study and learning. You will cram hard. Now, cramming is not the ideal to learn anything, but we don't have the luxury of anything else. And that's why we'll probably get up a little bit earlier and probably go to bed a little bit later and probably brown bag the lunch. And if we want to go the fastest way possible, we will cram. because we have to cover it all as much as we possibly can cover in this very, very short period of time. We cram 20 hours of study into 5 hours time, right? And for some people, they thrive on that. I thrive on that. Some people do not thrive on that, right? And this is my favorite thing. You will make constant decisions on largely incomplete information and data. You will not even know what you're doing next. You will just be making a decision here in the now. And you might thrive on that. And if so, the fast scenario is awesome for you. You might just absolutely go crazy dealing with stuff like this. And you either have to just accept it as a casualty of choosing the fast approach, or maybe you choose a different approach, right? Learning from experience is more important than learning from study. So this is a massive benefit of the fast scenario. Like I told you earlier, when I was calling suppliers on the phone and sounding like an idiot and not even knowing what questions to ask, at least I learned. And I learned at a level much deeper than if I just studied the PDF that Wilson put in the members area, right? But I sacrificed it. The trade-off is I felt some pain in the short term by sounding like an idiot, right? The other thing to consider is with fast scenario is cost. It's not like your costs go up. Your costs just shift in terms of how they balance out. Let me explain it. For example, if we're going and doing stuff and we want to look at the product, which in some cases you might not even look at the product. But if you do want to look at the product, you're going to have them send you a sample overnight, which might cost you $50 or $60 or $70. You say, wait, well, hold on a second, Jason. You told me the costs aren't going up. Stay with me here, okay? But this is an example. Now, me personally, I didn't even look at our product. I just sent it to Amazon and hoped for the best because speed was my number one priority. But I will tell you, when I was selling ASM, people were asking constantly, Jason, how do you know product quality? Jason, how do you know product quality? It was a big, massive consideration for most of our audience. And so either you overnight it or you just hope for the best. Okay, the way I look at it is even if it's bad quality and worse comes to worse, people get really mad, we quit selling it immediately. And we're done. No harm, no foul in the long run, right? Big deal, right? But that's just my personality. It's not necessarily the right way or the wrong way. It's just my way, right? The other cost to consider is this: you'll buy a top listing with money instead of winning it over time through doing things manually, okay? And you say, well, hold on, Jason, I thought you said the costs weren't going up. Well, hold on. Here's the bottom line. Your costs aren't any higher. They're just mostly tipped to the financial side. You're going to pay one way or another. You're either going to pay in time or you're going to pay in money, or a combination of the two. If you're going fast, it's mostly going to be money, and because you don't have a lot of time to sit there and build all kinds of complex stuff. Like when Wilson and I started, we went the fast route. We said, nope, no website. We didn't build a website. We sold the product without a website, which is kind of cool, right? But if we were going to do it the steady way or the safe way, it was probably smarter to build the website, right? But it's a trade-off. Now, the fast scenario isn't worse than any scenario. It's not better than any scenario necessarily. It's just one thing to consider. The final analysis looks like this. Facts works great for people like me because it suits my personality, and often it's the product of circumstance. If you have no other option, meaning that you have to make money as soon as humanly possible, otherwise somebody's going to come to your house, break in, kidnap your family, and hold them for ransom, and you got to pay for that, right? Then you have no other choice. So sometimes you don't have the luxury to choose, and that's what I was when I first started. It's not ideal. It's not. It sucks to be forced to make the decision to go fast, but maybe that's what you have to do. And then the other thing too is, if you're like me, is I cram so many deadlines back to back to back to back to back, I have to go fast because I have no other option, because there's no other way I can meet those deadlines, right? So sometimes fast is a byproduct of circumstance, and sometimes fast is your personality, and you thrive under that type of environment. So fast may work for you, and even if it isn't the best of the three plans for you, it's still a fantastic option, because you learn how to make decisions very quickly, even in the face of uncertainty, and you do get experience as quickly as possible that other people aren't going to get as fast as you can get it, okay? So it's not a wrong choice. So don't, if you're like, should I go fast, steady, or safe, just randomly pick one that's better than doing nothing, right? Plus, and this is what's really cool about fast, you can always fall back to steady or safe. It's like a safety net. So we've talked about fast. Let's talk about steady now. Steady looks like this. This is the definition. You'll take the most consistent, keyword is consistent. You'll take the most consistent approach to producing a profit. Now here's the benefits of steady. It is the most reliable way to succeed, because fast can either burn people out or freak them out, okay? And safe, sometimes it goes so slow, and if you've ever heard the saying is you could be on the path of success and still get run over because you go too slow, right? Steady is the most reliable way to succeed. If I had to say, and we're talking group dynamics here, if I had to say the most people in our ASM Masters group, they're probably more suited for steady. because it's the most reliable, okay? In general, there's always deviations, okay, or anomalies, as I like to refer to them. And so it's the most applicable approach for the largest number of people, as well as being the most reliable way to succeed. And here's what I really like about steady: it reinforces small continual improvements habit. It's awesome when you have the habit of every single day, let's just get a little better. Every single day, let's just get a little better. Every single day, let's just get a little better. Very hard to make yourself think that way at first. But once you do that day in and day out, even if you have to push yourself hard to do that day in and day out, over time it just becomes a default setting, just a habit that you have, right? And steady, really, at the end of the day, is the most sustainable in the long run. As long as you plug away and keep building and keep building and keep building, then you really have a sustainable, scalable business that way. Now, the drawbacks of steady is it will take you longer than fast will before you see an immediate profit. And it's really the least sexiest of the three options. It's even less sexy than taking the safest approach, because there's some sort of comfort in doing it the safest way. So steady is the least sexiest, but it's also the most reliable, which is probably why those two are related that way. So in this instance, if we were going to suppliers, it really doesn't matter if we go to the United States or China. And this is what I say: it's better to be consistent than it is to be better. Okay? You might have a better connection than me for a supplier. You might have a better approach to finding a supplier than I do. But if I'm calling 5 suppliers a day for 30 days straight, I will beat you just because I'm consistent in my application, right? And so this is just something about being consistent. It's better to have a number and just hit that number every single day. I'm going to contact this many suppliers. I'm going to do this with this many suppliers. It's steady, okay? And over time, that is the most winning approach that you can take. It might be a little slower at first, but hey, that's the trade-off, right? And this is what's cool about steady: is everything is really a process-based approach. You say the same thing to each supplier when you call them. You have the same answers to the same questions. And over time, you develop that to be as comprehensive as possible, to encounter as many scenarios as possible, right? So that's a massive benefit with a steady, and that's an example of it. Studying and learning becomes like this. Remember, consistency. So you say, I'm going to study this much, this many times a week. I'm going to study 2 hours, 5 days a week. And you schedule your study, and then you stick to it. It's better to stick to the schedule, and it doesn't even matter what you study. It could be the most important thing, the least important thing. At first, it does not matter as long as you're consistent, because the name of the game is steady. And the approach becomes like this: you spend some time learning it, then you implement it, then you spend some time analyzing it to refine it, and then you implement yet again. Compared to the fast approach is like, we implement it first, and then we learn how to do it. And then if we have any time left over, we either refine it, or if we don't, we just leave it be and keep doing it unrefined, because we're making up that unrefinement with application, with steady, not steady, but fast implementation, so we'll get more implementation done, right? So this is the give and take. And if you look at cost, the steady scenarios are like this. It's a nice balance between time cost and financial cost, and it can be easily tweaked to maybe we put more time in and spend less money, or maybe we put more money in and spend less time, and this is very dependent on your personal situation. You have the luxury, as long as you're steady, to do it this way. The final analysis of steady works best for people like Wilson Matos, because it suits his personality. I mean, he is, after all, our COO, Chief of Operations. And so operations make sense for steady people, right? Steady will most likely work best for you. If in general, right? Even if it's not the best of the 3 plans for you specifically, it's still a great option. Plus, you can always dial it up to do sprints, to go fast, or dial it down if you want to go into safer maintenance mode, right? So we talked about fast and steady. The last option here is safe. Safe looks like this. You'll take the most well thought out approach to produce a profit. Now, the benefits of safe are it's the stablest chance for long-term consistent growth and profits, because you'll do it right. You'll build the right foundation from the beginning. It takes a long time to build the right foundation, though, so yeah, that's what it is. And there's almost zero financial risk. It's the least likely that you'll pick a product that has quality control issues, even though that almost never happens. You'll make sure it doesn't happen. It's zero financial risk in terms of, oh, the printer printed a really crappy design because they didn't take the time to find the right printer or walk them through the process to print correctly if I'm getting the print directly from the manufacturer, as most of you will be doing, right? It is also the most comfortable approach, and there's a big benefit in comfort, right? And the other thing is it requires the least physical energy. Now, the drawbacks to this is it's very slow. And that's okay. It's not where you start, it's where you finish, right? It's slow. And it does have the more potential to get sidetracked, because if you're going really slow, it's easy for you to churn off the path because you're so slow anyway. It's easy to make that churn, right? So you can get distracted by bright shiny objects or blah blah blah. So knowing the drawback's important because you can try to safe proof yourself from it or realize it when it happens and then just get back on the road, right? So safe scenarios look like this for suppliers. You can do the most quality control. You can inspect the most elements. You can really shoot for a competitive advantage in Amazon by actually having a superior product that's not required, but it's now an option that you can use, right? And you'll get the best profit margins because you'll make sure to call all the suppliers for a particular product. And then you'll be able to price shop, price compare, and even play them against each other and negotiate down so you can get the best profit margins. And here's what I really like: hiccups won't derail opportunities. And so, like, if you're going fast and you contact a supplier and they say, hey, we can do that for you, but it's going to take 3 weeks. And you're like, oh, damn, this is the perfect product. But I'm going fast mode. So I got to say next and move on to the next opportunity, right? And you say, yeah, you just have to deal with it if you're going fast. It's one of those things. There's another opportunity around the corner. But if you're slow, you say, okay, cool, we can wait 3 weeks. No big deal. And now you have a massive advantage in other regards. So you traded in time to go slower, but you got a product that most people won't wait for. So when it does get there, cha-ching, right? Studying and learning looks like this. You can learn more about Amazon than anyone else, which allows you to have more dots to connect together, to create new and unique and interesting approaches to have massive breakthroughs in your Amazon business. But just don't mistake studying for doing, because if you put 1,000 hours into learning this course but spend no time implementing it, a guy who puts 1 hour into studying and then implements for 1 hour beats you, right? So you just have to be careful of that. The final analysis is like safest works best for people like Matson and Morgan because it suits their personality. It's just how they like to approach things. Safe may work for you. Even if it isn't the best of the three plans for you, it's still a great option. Plus, you can always turn it up to steady if you want. I mean, a guy like Wilson succeeds in this Amazon business. Guys like Matson and Morgan succeed in this business. I succeed in this business, and we all chose a different path to take. And I can point to you to many ASM people, both male and female, who worked well in any of those scenarios, whether it was fast, steady, or comfortable. That's how I know to document this out and put it in front of you right here, because I've seen firsthand these different paths, so I've laid them out to you. Now, more important than which path you choose out of these three is knowing this. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Of these two, I would much rather you be the bottom one right there, where you slowly but steadily in 12 months moved up to $15,000 a month or $12,000 a month, then do that first scenario where you ramped up really quickly and in 1 month hit 10K, and then you maintained it for a little bit, and then you just let it drop and die off, right? More important than anything, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So thank you for watching this. Now it's up to you. Pick your plan ASAP. Jason Flalin here, and thank you so much for watching this training video.